The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
This is Race to Power on WION World is One. I'm Eric Njoka. Hello and welcome to the show. With just weeks to the polls, a Financial Times poll tracking each swing state indicates Harris is in the lead in 4 out of 7 swing states, which can give her an advantage of 50 electoral votes. However, her lead margins remain razor thin in key battlegrounds. And from the US to the North Africa, critics have opined how sham the elections in Tunisia are. The incumbent Kais Saied is running for another term in office, while his opponents, who are supposed to be on the ballot, continue to languish in jail. Most Tunisians say if he wins the elections, it will not be shocking news for them. With US presidential polls just a few weeks away, the tight contest between Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris and Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump is becoming even more thrilling. Now, according to Financial Times poll tracking, each swing state features a razor-edge race within 1.5 points. Together, they add up 93 of the Electoral College's 538 votes and 18% of the population. The polls indicate Harris is in the lead in 4 out of 7 swing states, which can give her an advantage of 50 electoral votes. However, her lead margins remain razor thin in key battlegrounds. Let's take a look at who is leading in each of these swing states. Just ahead of Trump's historic rally in Butler last week, Harris held a slight edge in Pennsylvania with 48.5% support, while Trump was close behind at 47.9%. With 19 electoral votes, Pennsylvania is crucial for securing an electoral college majority. Wisconsin has also emerged as a battleground. Harris holds a narrow 0.6% lead at 48.5% compared to Trump's 47.9%. However, the story is different in Arizona. Harris is trailing here by 1%, with 47.6% against Trump's 48.6%. North Carolina and Georgia, which are still dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, seem dissatisfied with the Democrats and are leaning towards Trump. With 16 electoral votes each, both states are expected to go red, with Trump leading by over 1%. North Carolina, typically leaning towards one party, has proven unpredictable this cycle as both candidates compete for the remaining undecided voters. Nevada tells a different story. With 6 electoral votes, the state remains blue, currently showing Harris with 48.4% support against Trump's 47.3%. Michigan, on the other hand, remains highly competitive. Harris is currently holding a 1.5% advantage over Trump, standing at 48.8%. As a state that has historically played a pivotal role in national elections, Michigan could once again be a decisive factor in the outcome of the presidential polls. Remember, the unique U.S. election process grants Electoral College the powers to determine the winner. Each state is assigned a specific number of electoral votes, giving pivotal swing states the crucial role of potential kingmakers.
Our movement to
With less than a month to go for the U.S. presidential elections, Democrat campaign managers are lining up a week-long media blitz for Kamala Harris. The whirlwind tour of friendly media outlets for the vice president seems crafted for maximum reach and minimum risks. It will cover TV talk shows, late-night shows, and even podcast interviews. Harris has already spoken on the CBS News show 60 Minutes and the popular podcast Call Her Daddy. On Tuesday, she will appear on ABC News, The View, and The Howard Stern Show, followed by a recording with late-night host Stephen Colbert. Also, Harris will appear alone on 60 Minutes after Trump declined to be interviewed by the election special, a prominent feature on U.S. election coverage. Since replacing President Joe Biden on the Democrat ticket, Kamala Harris has been under constant fire on the campaign trail for what critics call her avoidance of press or TV interviews. Republican leaders now routinely accuse her of being media shy. The media blitz will be an attempt to counter that criticism. Her TV appearances are aimed at reaching large audiences focused on the demographic groups that are key to Democrat candidates' chances of winning in November. Call Her Daddy is one of the most listened to podcasts among women. The View, on the other hand, is the #1 daytime talk show with 2.5 million average viewers, most of them women.
We win. God bless you and God bless you.
All right, let's talk about the latest from the United States of America. And joining us is our correspondent, Susan Teherani, who's joining us live from New York. Hi, Susan. Good to see you. Let's talk about this media blitz for Kamala Harris. Many are skeptical. Others are hopeful. It's a divided win for Kamala Harris, don't you think?
Yeah, what else is new, Eric, in this campaign cycle? More division than ever, even when Kamala Harris, after being criticized for not going on media outlets, decides to go on this media frenzy. One of the reasons, however, for that criticism is because of what's happening in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, and then we have another hurricane really coming towards Florida as well. Many believe that going to these lighthearted interviews, as you mentioned, Call Her Daddy, Howard Stern, The View, Colbert, which is a late-night comedy show, these are more lighthearted. They're fine under normal circumstances. But right now, as someone who would want to be commander-in-chief, the criticism comes that she should probably do like FEMA press conferences. She should be on the ground. She should be talking about what's happening inside the country a little more than, what she'll probably be able to talk about during these podcasts and these interviews everywhere. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is, Harris will go on these interviews, but then the question is whether or not she'll be able to articulate her policies the way that, many voters want to see and articulate it. So, we'll be watching. It is a step in the right direction to hear from the candidate. But the timing and what she'll be talking about and the shows that she's going on, those are the aspects that people are criticizing.
Susan, very quickly, how would you compare her TV interviews or her media interviews against Trump's? Because Trump has been all over TV, has been all over podcasts, has been on the radio compared to Kamala Harris.
Listen, everyone knows Donald Trump is a natural. He's been on TV for the past 30, 40 years. He's been doing these kind of interviews even before he ran. He is somewhat a former president. He doesn't shy away from controversy, and he knows how to handle it. It's a very different ballpark. Even when Donald Trump doesn't articulate his policies, it appears that he gets better ratings just speaking to someone off the cuff and ad-libbing That's something that Kamala Harris has trouble doing. Is she somewhat often goes into these talking points that really don't make a lot of sense. It's like a word salad, people say, and that's her challenge really. And if she can, even with that, if she can win the hearts and minds of those undecided voters, that she's at least likable, believe it or not, that'll go a long way for her.
We'll have to wait and see how this TV frenzy or TV blitz will go like. Thank you, Susan. We'll have to leave it there. Susan Teherani is our correspondent in New York. Waves of anti-Benjamin Netanyahu protests on the streets of Israel may point at unpopularity of its prime minister. But opinion polls overall put out quite a different picture. A leading pollster says Bibi leads head and shoulders over his rivals Gantz and Lapid. New head-to-head matchups released by leading Israeli polling company Direct Polls says Netanyahu leads Benny Gantz in favorability at 52% against 25%. He leads Yair Lapid 54% against 24%. The poll also found that for the first time since October 7, 2023, the parties comprising Netanyahu's coalition have an outright majority in the Knesset seats. It found that if elections were to be held today, a Netanyahu-led government will be re-elected. Netanyahu's popularity had dropped drastically in the immediate aftermath of the October 7th attack. It has seen a massive intelligence lapse. The assault on Gaza and big humanitarian suffering there also hit Bibi's popularity ratings. Reports say a series of military successes by the IDF helped turn the tide. The mid-July strike in southern Gaza killed Hamas military wing chief Mohammed Deif, the first killing of one of the masterminds of October 7th. It continued with the longest range strike in Israel's history that set on oil facilities in Yemen ablaze. Then Israel killed top Hezbollah military commander Fuad Shukri in an airstrike in Beirut. And within the next day, Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh was killed in a government guest house in Tehran. The pager and walkie-talkie blasts on the 17th and 18th of September, unprecedented airstrikes over the next 2 weeks, destroyed two-thirds of Hezbollah's rocket and missile arsenals and killed almost all of its senior leadership, as well as many mid-level commanders. The killing of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah was seen as a huge victory, and Israel defeating an Iranian ballistic missile attack was seen as big military achievement. On the global stage, Netanyahu's image stands badly tarnished. His relations with Biden are strained. Many Western leaders criticize him, and many in the Arab world call him a war criminal. Many leaders walked out when Netanyahu addressed the United Nations General Assembly last month. Netanyahu also faces significant challenges ahead of the international front. But at home, no matter the protests, numbers say Bibi still rules the roost. Morgan Maswini will replace Sue Gray as the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff. Maswini previously served as the Chief Advisor to the Prime Minister. This after local media reported tension at the top of the government between Gray and several political advisors. Reports revealed that her salary was higher than that of Starmer's. While resigning, Gray cited the intense commentary about her and said it could risk becoming a distraction for the government's vital work of change. Starmer, accepting Gray's resignation, thanked her for her support that she provided him both in opposition and in government. Gray will now take on another role in government as the envoy for the regions and nations. Earlier, we spoke to our correspondent Stuart Smith from London, and this is what he had to say.
Sue Gray was a political appointee that was there to try to manage the civil service, the impartial managerial side of the UK that manages to turn government projects into actual progress on the ground. Now, she was there as an appointment of Keir Starmer, but there was a lot of talk in the press, particularly that she was not doing a good job. Now, these negative briefings have been going on over the past few weeks in the UK, people claiming anonymously from inside the civil service that she wasn't doing her job well. But the most well-known report is that leak about her pay, her earning around $4,000 US dollars more than the Prime Minister, while at the same time people inside the civil service claimed that other appointees like her, lower in the ranks, were not receiving the right amount of pay.
Let's head to North Africa. Tunisian President Kais Saied is eyeing a landslide win in the country's presidential election. Exit polls have showed Saied winning more than 89% of the votes, and his supporters have already begun celebrations. The Election Commission said that only 2.7 million voters, just over 27% of the electorate, cast ballots. That's far lower than the 49% who had participated in the first round of the last presidential race in 2019. President Saied faces two rivals in the race, his former ally turned critic Zohair Maghzoui and Ayachi Zamel, who is currently in prison on fraud charges. Official results are not expected until Monday evening, but after an exit poll broadcast on state television, the president's supporters gathered in the capital. They celebrated in Tunis's main thoroughfares, raising pictures of Saied and the Tunisian flag.
We are tired of the governance we had before. We want a leader who wants to work for Tunisia. This country was on the road to ruin. We are very happy. I came here with my children to celebrate with Tunisians.
I came specifically to celebrate the grand electoral wedding in which Mr. Kais Saied won with a large majority and the support of his followers, because he is a sincere and a clean national figure who has worked hard for Tunisia and sacrificed himself and his family to free this nation from traitors and impositions.
The rival campaigns rejected the exit poll results, saying the real results will be different. Saied has vowed to build and cleanse the country of traitors and conspirators, saying this is a continuation of the revolution.
Today, Tunisians came out for their people and their country. The next step will be very important.
He has been in power since 2019 and has since removed institutional and legal checks on his powers. In 2021, he invoked emergency powers, suspended Tunisia's parliament, and rewrote the country's constitution to give the presidency additional powers. Political tensions have been on the rise since an electoral commission named by Saied disqualified prominent candidates. Dozens of members of the country's largest opposition party were arrested in a countrywide sweep last month. Mozambique is set for a watershed election that could see a change of the presidential guard as the country votes on Wednesday. Many hope the new leader will bring peace to the oil and gas-rich northern province ravaged by a jihadist insurgency for nearly 7 years. Close to 17 million voters will cast their vote for the next president, alongside 250 members of parliament and provincial assemblies. The current president, Filipe Nyusi, is ineligible to stand again after 2 terms in office. 4 candidates are vying for Mozambique's top job. They include Daniel Chapo from the ruling Front for the Liberation of Mozambique, or Frelimo, Osufo Momade from the rebel-turned-opposition Mozambique National Resistance Party called Renamo, Lutero Simango from the Mozambique Democratic Movement MDM, and a powerful newcomer, Venancio Modlane, an independent backed by the Democratic Alliance Coalition, or the CAD. All the 4 candidates have one common promise to the electorate. They want to industrialize the country, create jobs for young people, and even establish 3 capital cities in the country. Key provinces include Nampula, the northern province, and the central province of Zambezia. Whoever gets the most votes in these regions is likely to be closer to victory. Combating Islamist insurgency is one of the key challenges for the new president. The insurgency has disrupted multi-billion-dollar energy projects. The government has contained the insurgency, but deadly attacks have surged since the start of the year. Although front-runners have promised to tackle the violence, no candidate has laid out a plan to end it. In the wave of insurgent attacks, an LNG project worth $20 billion has been stalled. The project is aimed at turning the country into a major liquefied natural gas producer. Debt scandal is another key poll issue. Mozambique is still reeling from a $1.5 billion plus tuna bond scandal in which money lent to state-run firms for fishing fleets has gone missing. Moreover, Mozambique is one of the most disaster-prone countries in the world. It bore the brunt of Cyclone Freddy last year that claimed over 1,000 lives. All right, let's move on now. The Indian state of Haryana and Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir are bracing for the announcement of the assembly election results tomorrow. Counting of votes will take place from 8 a.m. local time. Postal ballots will be first taken up for counting, followed by the votes cast using electronic voting machines. Most of the exit poll predictions after the elections ended last week have given a clear majority to the Congress party in Haryana and a hung house in Jammu and Kashmir. In Haryana, the ruling BJP is eyeing a hat trick of electoral victories, having come to power in the state in 2014. The Congress, on the other hand, is aiming for a comeback after being in opposition for a decade in Haryana. Apart from the BJP and the Congress, the Aam Aadmi Party, the Janayak Janta Party, and the Indian National Lok Dal also have stakes in the election. In Jammu and Kashmir, voting was held for the 90-seat assembly in 3 phases on September 18th, 25th, and October 1st. The exit polls have predicted a slight edge for the National Conference in the Union Territory. There is much interest in how accurately the pollsters will predict the results of both regions this time. However, exit polls have been famously inaccurate in recent elections. And to remind our viewers, at least 12 exit polls predicted a landslide win for the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party-led National Democratic Alliance in the Indian Lok Sabha election this year. But most of the predictions turned out to be wrong. Actual results showed that unlike 2014 and 2019, the BJP had failed to win a simple majority on its own. And for more on the latest on these polls, our special correspondent Idris Lone has sent us this report from Srinagar.
Jammu and Kashmir is witnessing a big day tomorrow as the results for the assembly elections, which were held after 10 long years, will be announced. Most of the exit polls are showing that National Conference Congress coalition is winning majority of seats in the Kashmir division, while Jammu is being swept by the Bharatiya Janata Party. But this election, the voting percentage has been at its peak. So will that really have an impact on the election results, and will there be a surprise in offing? With video journalist Firoz, Idris Lone for WION World is One.
Brazilians voted on Sunday for mayors and city councillors in more than 5,500 municipal elections, with polls showing conservative candidates running strong in several major cities, setting the country's political landscape ahead of a 2026 presidential race, as both parties attempt to seat as many supporters in town halls as possible. The day's voting will be seen as a gauge of the forces of the left and right, represented respectively by President Lula da Silva and his successor Jair Bolsonaro. Even though this is only the first round of voting, polls indicate that in 11 of the 26 state capitals, candidates have the potential to receive more than half of the total vote, negating the need for a second round on October 27th. Eyes are particularly on Sao Paulo, Latin America's biggest city, with 12 million inhabitants. An expected duel between outgoing Mayor Ricardo Nunes, a Bolsonaro ally, and Lula-backed candidate Guillermo Bolos turned into a three-way battle with the emergence of outsider Pablo Macal, a popular influencer. Now, according to data Folha Institute, a new poll of voter intentions has the three men essentially tied, with Bolos taking 29% and the others 26% each. President Lula da Silva cast his vote in Sao Paulo, where he told journalists that there had been a surge in candidates who were focused in provoking others and spreading fake news.
A minha expectativa é que o próximo prefeito de São Paulo consiga cumprir as suas promessas, né, no plano de campanha, e consiga gerir São Paulo para todas as esferas da sociedade, né, tanto a classe trabalhadora, tanto os outros, as empresas e tudo.
This information has been at the center of the campaign in Brazil, where social media platform X has been off the air since August 31st, accused of propagating false news. On Sunday, over 150 million Brazilians were eligible to vote at a time when the nation is experiencing record wildfires and a historic drought. And that's it on Race to Power today. Thank you very much for your time and for watching. Do stay with us. This is WION The World is One, and I'm Eric Njoka. Goodbye for now.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at YoOne.com.
special business talk show where we bring forth the stories of business leaders. From breakthrough technologies to visionary leadership. We will unlock the trends, the tactics, and dive into the minds of the industry's most influential leaders. WION brings you this special series to uncover what drives them in a candid talk show, WION Business Masters.
Hello there, you're watching Fine Print on WION World is One. Thank you very much for joining us at this hour. I'm Eric Njoka. The headlines. The Israeli army says its forces were launching a targeted strike in a southern Beirut suburb that the military described as a key Hezbollah stronghold.